Some trucks are not just getting old, they are getting overlooked. And that is exactly where the opportunity is hiding. Right now, across barns, fields, and backlots, some of the most legendary vintage trucks are being dumped for pennies, while mechanics and collectors say the same thing. Buy now before it is too late. These are machines that once built cities, moved heavy industry, and survived decades of abuse. Yet today they are selling for less than the price of a used phone. From industrial workhorses to sleeper legends, every truck has a story, a flaw, and a reason it is now sitting at rock-bottom prices. And in this video, we are breaking down 7 vintage trucks the market almost forgot, but experts say still carry serious value, durability, and hidden potential. So stick around, because what looks like scrap metal to some might just be the smartest buy you will ever see on 4 wheels. The 1992 Ford F-150 sits at one of the most misunderstood turning points in truck history. It marks the start of Ford's 9th generation, known as the Aeronos era, when the boxy 80s design was replaced with a more aerodynamic, modern shape that divided opinion. It looks refined on the outside, but underneath, it is still old-school Ford strength, adapting to a new era of electronics. Under the hood, Ford stayed brutally reliable. You could get the legendary 4.9-liter inline-6 with its near-indestructible design, the 5-liter V8, or the stronger 5.8-liter Windsor V8 for real torque. This was also the early fuel injection period, paired with either the E4OD automatic or a Mazda-built 5-speed manual, placing it right between analog toughness and early digital control. Design-wise, everything got smoother. Rounded headlights, a lower hood line, and better aerodynamics replaced the old brick-style look. Inside, the cabin finally became more driver-focused, with improved ergonomics and a more modern dashboard. Ford also marked its 75th year of truck production in 1992, adding subtle anniversary badging that makes this generation quietly significant. Now, here is the problem. This truck is stuck in a collector dead zone. It is too old to feel modern, but not old enough to be considered a true classic. That is why prices are still low, and why most people overlook it completely. But mechanically, this truck has real long-term strength. The 4.9-liter inline-6 is famous for extreme durability, often outlasting the body and even the frame. It uses timing gears instead of belts or chains, which removes one of the biggest failure points in engines. It also kept practical features like dual fuel tanks with a simple dash switch, something modern trucks have overcomplicated. And that is why this matters. Right now it is still cheap, still overlooked, still treated like just another used truck. But in a decade, clean survivors will be rare. And the 1992 F-150 will not look like a forgotten workhorse anymore. It will look like the early foundation of a modern legend everyone underestimated. Next is the 1973 Chevrolet C10. The 1973 Chevrolet C10 launched the third-generation Chevy C&K lineup, known as the square body, introducing a completely new boxier design with improved aerodynamics and driver comfort that went on to define pickup trucks for the next 15 years. Under the hood, the 1973 C10 offered everything from the 250 inline-6 to small-block V8s like the 307 and 350, all the way up to the 454 big block built for serious torque and hauling power. A 3-speed manual, 4-speed SM465 or turbo-hydromatic automatic kept it moving. It also introduced the rounded line square body design, tested for better aerodynamics, but still retaining that bold, boxy Chevy look. The wheelbase was stretched, the stance improved, and Chevy debuted the Crew Cab 3+3, a direct ancestor of today's family trucks. But here's where the story turns. The 1973 model used side-mounted fuel tanks outside the frame rails, which became a long-term safety concern in side impacts. Over time, that reputation hurt the entire generation. Add in rust-prone body seams, drip rail corrosion, and decades of hard work use, and most examples simply wore out instead of being preserved. That's why you can still find 1973 C10s for a few $1,000s, while earlier square bodies are already climbing into collector territory. Yet, this truck also changed everything. It was the first half-ton Chevy to offer the 4x4 big block, effectively creating an accidental muscle truck with serious towing power. It featured wide-opening doors for easier work access and helped define the balance between utility and everyday comfort. With over 1 million units sold in its first year, it became one of the most common and most forgotten foundation trucks in Chevy history. And now the market is shifting. Modern trucks lose value fast, but clean 1973 C10 survivors are now rising in value as they mark the birth of the square body legend, shifting from a hard-used workhorse into a growing collector piece in automotive history. The 1991 GMC Cyclone looks like a plain black Sonoma, but under that sleeper exterior sits one of the most shocking performance trucks ever built. A pickup so quick it embarrassed sports cars and briefly became the fastest accelerating production vehicle in the world. Power comes from a 4.3-liter turbocharged V6, paired with a Mitsubishi turbo system and a Borg-Warner all-wheel drive setup that aggressively splits power between the axles. Official output was rated at around 280 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, but the real-world performance told a different story. With AWD traction and a 4-speed automatic, it launches from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.3 seconds, Ferrari territory in 1991. And that is where the legend begins. Car and Driver famously tested it against a Ferrari 348 TS, and the Cyclone won. A pickup beating a Ferrari was not supposed to happen, but it did, and it completely changed expectations for what a truck could be. Only 2,995 units were ever built, all finished in black, making it one of the rarest performance trucks of its time. It wore subtle aggression with turbine wheels, red badging, and a sleeper-style exterior that hid its true capability. Inside, it featured unique sports seats and a turbo-focused gauge cluster pulled from GM's performance engineering era. But here is where the reality catches up. The Cyclone was never designed to be a work truck. Payload is extremely limited, towing is basically off the table, and the lowered suspension is built purely for pavement performance. The 4L60 transmission also struggled under repeated hard launches, making long-term reliability a common concern for abused examples. Because of its performance reputation, many trucks were heavily modified, raced, and later abandoned when repair costs climbed. There are also rare chapters in its history, including a Marlboro promotional edition with unique paint and Recaro seats that is now highly collectible, along with around 150 units exported to the Middle East, where extreme heat conditions reportedly pushed the platform to its limits. And that is the truth about the Cyclone. It was a supercar in disguise, built with one obsession, destroyed in real-world use by its own specialization, and remembered as one of the most extreme performance trucks ever made. Next is the 1996 Dodge Dakota. The 1996 Dodge Dakota sits in a strange place in truck history. It is the final year of the first generation, and it represents a turning point when mid-size trucks stopped being basic tools and started becoming serious machines. This was an era when automakers were still figuring out what a mid-size pickup should be. The Dakota landed right in the middle, bigger and stronger than compact trucks like the S10, but still smaller and easier to live with than a full-size RAM. Under the hood, the standout was the 5.2-liter Magnum V8. It delivered around 220 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque, giving this mid-sized truck a level of confidence most rivals simply did not have. When properly equipped, it could tow up to about 7,100 pounds, which was serious capability for its class. It came in both rear-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, paired with manual transmissions or a 4-speed automatic. On paper, it looked like a straightforward work truck, but in reality it had enough strength to punch above its category. But what makes the 1996 Dakota interesting today is not just what it was built for. It is what time has done to it. These trucks can still be found for very low prices, sometimes under $2,000. And there is a reason for that. Age-related issues are common, especially with exterior paint. The clear coat on many examples is known to fail, peeling badly and making even solid trucks look far worse than they actually are underneath. Fuel economy is another factor. The 5.2-liter V8 delivers strong performance, but it comes with full-size fuel consumption in a mid-size body. But here's what often gets overlooked. The 1996 Dodge Dakota was the first mid-size truck to truly define itself with a V8 as a core identity, not an upgrade. It proved that smaller trucks did not have to feel underpowered, and it helped shape the future of performance-oriented pickups. Today, it stands as a reminder of a time when trucks were simpler, more direct, and built with far fewer compromises and a lot more character. Next is the 1993 Toyota T100, Toyota's first serious entry into the full-size American truck market designed to challenge the Ford F-150. But its completely different approach made it both misunderstood at launch and memorable in pickup history. Under the hood, it used a 3-liter SOH CV6, known as the 3VZE, producing around 150 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. It came paired with either a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic. On paper, that was modest for a full-size truck, and it became one of the biggest criticisms at the time. Fuel economy hovered around 15 miles per gallon in the city and 18 on the highway, which was average but not impressive for its size. Where it stood out was practicality. The T100 offered a full 8-foot bed that could fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood flat between the wheel wells, making it highly functional for real work use. But the biggest challenge was identity. Toyota marketed it as a full-size truck, but in reality it sat between the compact Toyota pickup and traditional American full-size models. That in-between positioning made it difficult to compete in either category. It was also built entirely in Japan by Hino Motors, giving it strong build quality, tight panel fitment, and excellent long-term durability. The frame was stiff and overbuilt in many areas, which is why surviving examples are still mechanically solid today. However, the T100 struggled in the market for a few key reasons. It had no V8 option, which was a major disadvantage in the 1990s American truck segment. It also lacked a crew cab configuration, limiting its appeal for families. On top of that, the chicken tax made it more expensive than domestic competitors before it even reached dealerships. In today's market, many of these trucks sell for around $500 to $3,500, but that low price is tied to known issues. The most common problem is the 3-liter V6 head gasket failure, caused by a design flaw that can lead to overheating and expensive repairs. Many trucks were abandoned because of this issue. Another factor is perception. It does not carry the rugged identity of a Tacoma or the power reputation of a Tundra, leaving it stuck in an overlooked middle ground. 4-wheel drive systems are generally reliable, but when components like hubs or axles fail, repair costs can outweigh the truck's value. But underneath the flaws, the T100 has strong long-term potential. When the head gasket issue is properly addressed, the rest of the truck is extremely durable. Manual transmission models and rear ends are known to reach 500,000 miles with proper care. It also rides on a wide, high-tensile steel frame that provides excellent stability under load. Most importantly, the T100 became the direct foundation for the Toyota Tundra, meaning every modern Toyota full-size truck traces its roots back to this early experiment. Next is the Nissan hardbody D21. Built from 1986 to 1997, earned its reputation as the compact truck world's tough guy, with a double-walled steel bed and chiseled styling that proved Japan could build a small pickup with serious durability and real hauling strength. Under the hood, it offered several engine options depending on the trim. You had the 2.4-liter Z24 inline-4, the later KA24E inline-4, and the stronger 3-liter VG30 EV6 producing around 153 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. But what really made the hardbody stand out was its identity. Designed in San Diego, California, it carried a bold, American-inspired design with angular lines and a wide stance that separated it from softer compact trucks of its era. It replaced the Datsun 720 and later became the foundation for the Nissan Frontier, helping define Nissan's truck legacy in North America. The bed was where it truly earned respect. The double wall construction made it extremely resistant to damage, and combined with its simple mechanical layout, the D21 became a truck that could be repaired easily and kept running for decades. Now here is why these trucks are suddenly cheap today. Frame rust is one of the biggest issues, especially around the cab and bed mounts. From the outside, many trucks look solid, but underneath, corrosion can compromise structural strength. That hidden damage has pushed many owners to sell them off cheaply. V6 models also suffer from exhaust manifold stud failure, which leads to loud ticking noises and costly repairs. Electrical aging is another problem. Brittle wiring, failing sensors, and weak grounds can cause random no-start issues that frustrate long-term owners. Inside, time takes its toll as well. Cracked dashboards, brittle plastics, and broken interior handles are extremely common, making the cabin feel more worn than the exterior suggests. Still, the hardbody has strong appeal among enthusiasts. Rare SEV5 trims with factory styling packages are highly sought after. Some versions included unique gauge clusters with off-road indicators, giving them a more rugged, almost purpose-built feel. The Desert Runner edition also stood out with wider tires and an aggressive stance, becoming a precursor to modern off-road packages. And because the engine bay is simple and spacious, the D21 became a favorite for engine swaps and budget performance builds, keeping its culture alive long after production ended. Last but not least, the 1962 International Loadstar F1700 was a medium-duty work giant built for construction, farming, fire service, and heavy industry, combining a short cab design with serious industrial-grade strength for maximum utility. Introduced in 1962, it used International's V304 and V345 V8 engines, built more like industrial equipment than highway powertrains, paired with heavy-duty 4-speed or 5-speed manuals and often a 2-speed rear axle for extreme hauling capability. With gross vehicle weight ratings ranging from roughly 18,000 to 23,000 pounds, it firmly sat in heavy-duty territory, often configured for buses, flatbeds, garbage bodies, and utility equipment that supported entire communities. One of its smartest design features was visibility. The short hood and elevated cab position gave drivers excellent forward sightlines, while the butterfly hood design allowed both sides to lift upward like wings, giving full access to the engine bay for easier maintenance. From 1962 to 1978, the Loadstar became the backbone of American infrastructure, hauling school buses, service bodies, and heavy equipment across the country. But today, these trucks often sell for just $500 to $1,500, and the reasons are practical rather than mechanical failure. Its weight class often requires commercial licensing and higher insurance, which limits buyers. Many models also use split rims, which are dangerous to service and expensive to convert to modern wheels. The braking system is outdated, using a vacuum-assisted hydraulic setup that becomes unreliable with age and harder to repair due to limited parts availability. On top of that, gearing is extremely slow, with many versions topping out around 45 to 50 miles per hour, making highway driving impractical without major drivetrain changes. Still, the Loadstar carries a strong legacy. Its V-Series engines are known for a deep, unmistakable idle that sounds more like a tractor than a truck. It also powered thousands of school buses, meaning entire generations unknowingly rode inside one. The frame is massively overbuilt and still reused in heavy fabrication today, although fuel economy sits around 3 to 5 miles per gallon, making it costly to operate in modern conditions. And if you made it this far, you already know the truth. These trucks are not just cheap, they are being massively underestimated. Drop your thoughts in the comments on which one surprised you the most. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because we are just getting started uncovering machines time forgot, but value never did.